Good morning. Welcome to News at 10 on NTA News 24. We are reaching you live from Abuja. I am Stella Inameti.
And I am Ogwa Vivian Unyedibia. Thanks for joining us. The headlines.
This will be helpful to dispel rumors, to calm nerves, that really the process is intact and that INEC is in control.
Reactions continue to trail INEC postponement of presidential and National Assembly elections.
National Assembly reschedules plenary to Tuesday, 26th of February, following the rescheduled general elections.
Governor Nasiru El-Rufai of Kaduna State takes an on-the-spot assessment of community ravaged by suspected bandits.
Is equal, and we do not create lives, and we sanctify every human life, and we respect it.
And peace finally restored in some oil and gas producing states as Oba of Benin preaches peace amongst host communities.
Thanks again for joining us. The Independent National Electoral Commission says 3,041,000 permanent voter cards remain unclaimed out of the 14,028,000 newly registered voters.
INEC Chairman Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, who disclosed this in Abuja, said collections of PVCs will resume after the elections.
27th of April 2017 was the date the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, started the continuous voter registration exercise and ended in August 2018. That is about 16 months. And within this period, 14.28 million eligible voters were registered, though many came late. After the registration, the next phase of the exercise started, that is the collection of permanent voters' cards, and it was suspended on the 11th of February 2019.
That of the 14.28 million permanent voter cards made available for collection, about 10.87 million, or 76.12%, have already been collected.
So, about 3,041,000 permanent voters' cards remain uncollected.
We are going to call in all the uncollected PVCs and warehouse them in the central bank for safekeeping until after the elections. After the elections, then we'll make the cards once again available for collection and also resume the registration of voters, for which the Commission will issue a timetable after the election.
However, the INEC is currently embarking on what it called mop-up exercise of all uncollected permanent voters' cards before the 2015 general elections. Mayor Ogede, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the National Assembly has postponed its resumption of plenary to Tuesday, 26th of February 2019. A statement by clerk to the National Assembly, Sani Omolori, explains that the postponement from the earlier date of 19th of February to 26th is due to the postponement of the general elections. The clerk urges all senators and House of Representatives members to resume plenary on the stated date.
And the Director Election Planning and Monitoring of the APC Presidential Campaign Council, Babatunde Fashola, has urged Nigerians to remain committed to the task of building a democratic nation and not to allow the rescheduling of the presidential and National Assembly elections deter their efforts. While addressing a press conference in Abuja, he appealed to Nigerians to see themselves as important stakeholders while calling the electoral umpire, INEC, to be more transparent in their activities towards the rescheduled presidential and National Assembly polls.
Planning and Monitoring and the Directorate for Contact and Mobilization, on behalf of the APC Campaign Council, demand greater openness and transparency in INEC's preparations ahead of the Saturday, 23rd of February 2019 elections. We want to know, for example, what steps have been taken by INEC with CBN, the central bank, to assess and to take inventory of materials and to brief the public about what their condition is. We think that this will be helpful to dispel rumors, to calm nerves, that really the process is intact and that INEC is in control.
Still on the postponed elections, the Chairman, Central Committee, Youth and Women, Buhari Campaign Council, General Mohammed Buba Marwa, has expressed disappointment over the postponement of the presidential and National Assembly elections as announced by INEC.
Abubakar Haman reports that General Marwa reacted from Yola, Adamawa State Capital, where he went to cast his vote.
The Chairman, Central Committee, Youth and Women APC Presidential Campaign Council, while receiving representatives of the Youth and Women wing of the committee across the 21 local governments in Adamawa State who visited him in his Dogere house in Yola, advised them to keep faith, law-abiding and shun all forms of violence during and after the elections.
Both religions in Nigeria have the saying that God's time is the best. I would therefore prefer to look at it from that perspective and urge our teaming supporters to remain patient.
Coordinator of the Youth and Women wing of the council in Adamawa State, Musa Bubakari Kamale, told General Marwa that they are more determined and committed more than ever before to come out en masse and vote for their candidates in all elective positions. In Yola, Abubakar Hamman, NTA News.
Well, following the postponement of the general elections by the Independent National Electoral Commission due to logistics and operational challenges, heads of international elections observation missions and the United Nations have urged Nigerians to continue to remain calm and supportive of the electoral process. In a joint statement, the international community observed that the decision has caused disappointment for many. They also urge INEC to use this time to finalize all preparations and ensure that the new election dates are strictly adhered to. They advise INEC to provide regular updates and information to the public on its preparations in the coming days to enhance confidence and trust in the process.
Meanwhile, the United States Embassy says it fully supports the joint statement by the heads of the ECOWAS and other international election observation missions on the postponement of the February elections. This is contained in a release by the Public Affairs section of the Embassy Press Office. The embassy further says it is encouraging all Nigerians to ensure a free, fair, peaceful and credible elections by voting in peace on the 23rd and supporting the Independent National Electoral Commission as it finalizes preparations this week.
And as the dust settles from the postponement of the presidential election, Nigerians in Canada, also monitoring the political climate, are calling on the electorate to keep calm and wait patiently to perform their civic duties on the new dates announced by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Correspondent Joy Osiago sampled views of key Nigerian Canadian officials at an event on the Canadian Parliament Hill in Ottawa.
I would say they should exercise, some bit of patience, and hopefully within this 1 week, INEC should be able to get it right. And hopefully we'll see a very peaceful and smooth elections. And I encourage everyone to come out there, exercise their civic responsibility, because to be honest, this is a responsibility. And regardless of the challenges that we face, I hope, that everyone will be encouraged to come out next week Saturday to exercise that right.
We need to nurture our democracy. We need to do it right. It's important to show to the outside community, if we notice something is wrong, it needs to be corrected right away.
Advise everyone to keep their eyes on the prize, keep focused, because this is something that wasn't anticipated. No one did the risk analysis for this that way was going to happen. We could have thought of different scenarios, but it happened as it is. But everyone should group back together, and be optimistic and objective.
They should not take it too bad. They should basically still come out and still exercise their right.
Before you know it's on Saturday. There's a reason for everything. So we need to calm down and relax, then wait for Saturday, go out and vote.
Postponement of the 2019 presidential and National Assembly elections makes it the third consecutive time INEC will shift general elections in order to conduct fair and credible elections. Chimobi Walter Naji takes us down memory lane to 1999 when election cancellations started.
Since the advent of the Fourth Republic in Nigeria about 20 years ago, 5 general elections have been conducted, with improvements being noticed and acknowledged. Presidential and governorship elections were held in Nigeria in February 1999. These elections ushered in the first democratically elected president since the 1983 military coup. In compliance with Nigeria's constitution, elections were held in April 12th for the State and National Assembly, while the presidential and governorship election were held a week later. 4 years later, in 2007, hitch-free elections were conducted, signifying a first civilian-to-civilian transition. The 2011 elections were the first to be rescheduled when the then chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Atahiru Jega, postponed the elections by 2 days after challenges encountered midway into the process in some parts of the country. Late deployment of electoral materials in many parts of the country, among others, was the reason for the cancellation. In 2015, INEC again moved the elections due to security concerns following the declaration that security cannot be guaranteed. The postponement of the 2019 general elections, few hours to the time, the umpire says was a hard but necessary decision in the best interests of the nation.
Of the implementation of its logistics and operational plan and the determination to conduct free, fair and credible elections, the Commission came to the conclusion that proceeding with the election as scheduled is no longer feasible.
As expected, reactions have continued to trail the decision, but Nigerians have agreed that having a free, fair and credible election supersedes the issues as the country strives to perfect their democracy. In Abuja, Chimobi Walter Naji, NTA News.
You're watching the news at 10 on NTA News 24, reaching you live from Abuja. And still ahead.
Oba of Benin calls for peace among oil-producing host communities. There's more after the break. Stay with us.
From north to south, east and west, no matter your religion, we are one in all we do. Let's take Nigeria and the children unborn.
Dear compatriots, it's election time again. We must all get involved to allow peace reign before, during, and after the elections, as INEC is working round the clock to ensure the integrity of the electoral process. Security agencies, think Nigeria first and do the needful. Politicians and supporters, please play by the rules. Election is a contest, not war. Say no to election violence.
Let's think Nigeria. Let's protect the future.
This message is brought to you by NTA News 24.
The news at 10 continues now, and obviously we have not heard the last of reactions to the postponement of the presidential and National Assembly elections. While the electoral umpire has attributed the development to logistic challenges, our correspondent Dele Atumbi in this report takes a look at the legal perspective to the shift in election dates.
The Independent National Electoral Commission is one of the 14 federal bodies established under Section 153 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. Section 158 of the same Constitution also guarantees its independence from any interference. Hence, INEC is the body saddled with the conduct of elections in Nigeria. As a legal entity, the Commission is guided by the laws of the land. Section 26 of the Electoral Act envisages a shift in an election date and provides grounds for INEC to postpone elections. By this section of the Act, the Independent National Electoral Commission is empowered to postpone the date of elections based on envisaged breach of peace, insecurity, and disaster.
Yeah. Under the Electoral Act, I think Section 26, the Commission has the powers to postpone elections. But the postponement must be within the range allowed by the Constitution. The Constitution has prescribed the minimum number of days to the swearing in that election must take place. So it will be unconstitutional if the postponement is going to breach that provision.
In jurisprudential view, it's quite clear that the INEC has come under other exigencies to postpone these elections in keeping with the law, with the rule of law.
Undoubtedly, INEC has the powers to shift elections, postpone elections, and fix dates for elections within the parameters and ambit of the law.
The legal practitioners appeal to Nigerians to cooperate with INEC to deliver a credible, free and fair elections.
I think the law should be tinkered with to allow INEC to prepare its own budget and submit it directly to the Parliament. It need not be going through the executive because it's supposed to be independent.
Well, Nigerians should cooperate with INEC.
Let's engage, let's encourage INEC, let's support INEC. The end product is free, credible elections.
Observers say what is important is the unity of the country, with citizens being given the opportunity to perform their civic responsibility. In Abuja, Dele Atumbi, NTA News.
Meanwhile, the National Union of Road Transport Workers has undertaken to reduce cost of transportation in favor of voters wishing to go back to their respective voting units to cast their ballots. The union says it will soon make a definite statement regarding the nature of the subsidy as soon as consultations are concluded with members of National Executive Council. The decision by the union is in cognizance of the fact that a good number of voters may not return to vote in view of the cost implication.
And away from the postponement of elections, the 4-year leadership crisis rocking host communities of Nigeria's producing oil and gas communities has been resolved by the Oba of Benin, Ewuare II. The Oba advised members during the inauguration of the steering committee to eschew violence and embrace peace. Steve Lona Wakolo completes the report.
The inauguration of the steering committee of the host communities of Nigerian producing oil and gas, HOSCOM, was sequel to the peace earlier brokered by the Oba between the two warring factions of the group over its leadership. The Omonoba, who eventually accepted the life grand patron of HOSCOM, urged members of the body to see themselves as one and asked them to bury their differences in the interests of the Niger Delta region.
I want to reassure you that I will continue to discharge my duties.
That this peace we have struck to last endure. Otherwise, we have made a mockery of tradition and the pride I particularly have and the faith that the traditional institution can solve a lot of the problems of Nigeria.
For this what you have done, we have to say thank you to Mr. President for what you have done.
The newly constituted committee resolved, among other issues, payment of 13% derivation to the oil-bearing communities, end to gas flaring, making High Chief Benjamin Tamarenebi as the national chairman of HOSCOM and Chief Mike Emu as leader. In Benin, Steve Lonai Waukolo, NTA News.
Victims of Kajuru local government's communal clash in Kaduna State, which led to the death of about 66 persons, are still counting their losses. Suleiman Abdullahi Rigachikun reports that Governor Nasiru Ahmed El-Rufai visited the communities for an on-the-spot assessment.
Visited the affected communities of Iri, Marugida, and Ongomburdi, among others. The community leaders said they were attacked by unknown gunmen who killed about 66 persons, including women and children. More than 100 members of the communities, they said, are still missing. The governor described the incident as unfortunate.
Every human life is equal, and we do not create lives, and we sanctify every human life, and we respect it.
The residents were lured to that riverine and was slaughtered. A total of 37 were said to have been buried there. You have seen the graveyard. As far as we are concerned, what we reported was 66, comprising male, female, and children.
The police went on the other way and effected some arrest. They are right now undergoing interrogation in the state CID.
The governor appealed to the people to remain calm, assuring them that conflict merchants will be brought to justice. In Kaduna, I am Suleiman Abdullahi Rigachikun, NTA News.
And in Niger State, more than 4,000 people are taking refuge at two central primary schools in Kagara and Pandogari, respectively, Rafi local government area of the state. Reports say an unconfirmed number of persons have been killed and many others kidnapped by suspected bandits in 10 communities of Rafi and Shiruru local government areas. Mukhtar Abubakar Wuwu reports.
Some of the victims said the bandits who operate on motorcycles from Malawi forest bordering Kaduna State intensified attacks on the communities after about 3 weeks random attacks. The communities attacked in Rafi local government area are Gidan Karma, Gidan Ogu, Kabijo, Wajam, and Karma, while in Shiroro local government area, Durumi, Kukoki, Farakasa, Hanawanka, and Malawi were also affected.
We are died. It's more than 15. Now, kidnapping is more than 10 or 20.
They don't have human feeling. They kill if you play with them, and they kidnap children, female, adult.
I was watching helplessly when they killed my brother, took away my money and gold, worth about 1 million naira.
Members of the communities, including nursing mothers and children, flee their communities to central primary schools in Kagara and Pandogari, respectively, in Rafi local government area of Niger State. During NTA News visit to the displaced persons camps, there was no officials from either the federal or state governments to comment.
The organization rendering assistance here, it is local government, council. So far, we have 3,500.
Now that we are alerted on what is on the ground because of the magnitude of people that were there, and then the problem they are likely they cannot curtail it, and then the state government was informed, and then they went with full delegation.
There are conflicting figures with regards to the number of casualties and those in captivity of the bandits as victims keep trooping into the camps. In Kagara, Mukhtar Abubakar, NTA News.
And still on security matters, the Nigerian Customs Service says one of its officers, Assistant Controller of Customs Destiny Onebamo, sustained injury while a young man identified as Godwin died when some passengers of a white Toyota Hiace bus obstructed the lawful performance of the customs officials at Shagamu Interchange along Ijebu-Ode. A statement by the Public Relations Officer of the service, DC Joseph Atta, states that the bus was suspected to be carrying bales of used clothes. The statement also confirmed that the deceased was not among the passengers of the vehicle, but a friend of the officer who was always visiting them regularly. DC Atta says the incident happened when the bus passengers were struggling to disarm the men on duty.
The Executive Secretary and Head of Mission, Lake Chad Basin Commission, Ambassador Maman Nuhu, says the Commission has developed strategies to fast-track the eradication of the Boko Haram terrorist group from border town of member nation.
He said this while receiving journalists on media tour to the headquarters of the Commission and High Multinational Joint Task Force in N'Djamena, Chad. Defense correspondent Ismail Musa reports.
The Multinational Joint Task Force, MNJTF, with an expanded mandate and current headquarters in N'Djamena, Chad, comprises mostly military formations from the Lake Chad Basin Commission member nations.
We are looking forward for better cooperation, better understanding, and better equipping of all the armed forces that belong to this combination of what we call multinational joint task force.
These nations that include Cameroon, Chad, Nigeria, Niger, and Benin are united in the fight against their common enemy, the Boko Haram terrorist group that has killed and displaced thousands of people in the past 10 years. The chunk of these terror attacks is in the northeastern parts of Nigeria. This necessitated President Muhammadu Buhari to remobilize the Lake Chad Basin Commission member nations, inject funds to reinvigorate the comatose fighting formation of the Multinational Joint Task Force. This media tour is aimed at assessing the success recorded and strategies put in place to eradicate the remnant of the Boko Haram hibernating in some border towns of member nations. Addressing journalists, the head of mission, Ambassador Maman Nuhu, said the Commission has introduced a regional stabilization program to harmonize the ongoing drive to resettle internally displaced persons through a 9-pillar program.
And these pillars address all aspects of humanitarian and a bit of development issues that normally arise in a situation like this. Governance is the first one.
To ensure rapid response and effective coordination of operations, the Force Commander, Multinational Joint Task Force, Major General Chikeze Ude, said the formation operates through 4 sectors and have conducted several successful operations.
As at 2015, we recorded about 2,000 civilian casualties. But this figure dropped to 573 as at 2008.
He noted that the force has raided several cell locations of the terrorists along member nations' border towns. Ismail Musa, NTA News.
This is the news at 10 on NTA News 24, and we are reaching you live from Abuja. More news ahead. Stay with us.
What is fake news? Or gunshots of an active shooter that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words: run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Yes. Oh. Now my dirty they smell like this. Now to throw away am quick. This kind of smell fit make man sick. That woman throw away dirty for ground. Me sef go do the same this time around. Hold up.
See, to do this kind badness by the book, you make sure say person or they look. And then you drop them nicely. Bros, nothing will happen. Trust me.
See, if you throw away dirty for ground, another person say throw away dirty. Everybody can begin to throw away dirty for ground.
everywhere go call the smell. Gutter go block, road go block, and you will like to dey dab. Nah. I say no more dabbing for you, be that too. Dab, 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 dab. Yes,